Alright guys, thanks for tuning in. Let's go ahead and get this thing started. As always, I'm going to go ahead and do my um, audio check. Oh, wrong button. And we'll get this thing kick started. So I actually have a plan today. So, okay, perfect. Yeah, that's good. So I actually have a plan for today. So today we're going to be working with these HTTP responses because what's going to happen is we're going to have these responses coming back for a few things. We're going to have responses for the what is it for the posts, but we're also going to have responses for other places in the excuse me. So we're gonna have other places throughout the application. For instance, maybe there might be an error when a user is using my website and they need to, I need to have some error handling in place so that way everything can work smoothly as opposing to, it just crashing and the user just being like, okay, well, this page just doesn't work, right? That's a bad user experience. So you don't really want that. And sorry about this, I'm running a little late. I went grocery shopping today and kind of running into some time issues, so I didn't get a chance to post on Instagram. So I'm just doing that while I'm live. And actually, I should have started the front and the back end earlier, but I didn't. So I'll get a few extra seconds. Node.js, and then I'm going to open another one and run my Angular. And this is the one that takes up time. So yeah, there we go. Node.js is up and running. And now we're just waiting for ng-serve. So that'll, like I said, as always, it takes a second. So we'll give it some time to get comfortable, I guess, who knows. But while that's going, again, I'm just going to go an overview. So yesterday I was able to change a few things. So instead of having all this common stuff that we created yesterday, I ended up getting rid of that. And the reason being was that I didn't, the loading doesn't take that long. So I didn't, by the time everything kind of goes through and the message and you get your response, you're pretty much you're seeing a flash. The screen flickers. It's there, then it's gone. So because it happens so fast, I changed the interaction. Instead of having that what is it, that overlay, I have a dialog box that pops up, and that dialog box is what's going to help maneuver us to our next destination. For instance, if let's say we have a success, right? We can either have that dialogue well, more than likely I'll probably want it to be automated, but it'll just be, hey, your post was, saved successfully, boom, what do you want to do? Do you want to cancel? I mean, you just can't really cancel it, right? Because it's gone. But maybe you want to edit it really quick, or maybe you want to do some other things to it. So with that being said, you're gonna have the close button. You're gonna have OK, and the OK button is gonna take you over to the dashboard where you're going to see all of the posts that you've created previously. So that's what I'm thinking, and I kind of did this stuff on the fly. I didn't really think about the transition from this screen to the next. I guess I got so caught up in the high level design that I didn't really think it through fully. But as you guys can see, so far, having that design in place has helped me tremendously in this development process because I don't really have to do a lot of guesswork, and it's easier for me to adhere to what's going on because of the fact that I have a guideline. Without this guideline, I'd be all over the place. So with that being said, let me just check in on ng-serve again. And okay, now we got some action going on there. So that shouldn't be too much longer. Probably about the same amount of time that it takes for the Creative Cloud to come in. And again, this was the interface that I was really thinking of right there, right? that loading apps, but it doesn't take that long for my stuff to load. So having something like that just doesn't work for me. At least for not for this specific use case. Now, if I was pulling in something that took up a lot more data and needed a lot more time to process, whether your internet connection is bad or whatever, then that's when you probably want something like that. But in this particular case, I've seen how everything's working, so I don't have to worry about that. And let me check, see here. Okay, so it's compiled. So I'll just go ahead and show you guys what I have. Oh, check this out. Let me go ahead and come check me out. And that's my Facebook page, obviously. And that's all I need to have there. So when I stream to Facebook, that actually pops up. Where were we? Okay, so now I need to go over here to localhost 4200. So I was looking into Bootstrap, and I was just noticing how some of the things that I wanted to do, like CSS, like styling certain things, probably could have been done with Bootstrap. But the thing with Bootstrap is I needed to install a bunch of other stuff, and I'm not gonna say I didn't feel like doing it. That's really what it was. But I just didn't have a plan for it. And also with Bootstrap, that's another learning curve that I will have to go through. And as of right now, I just want to get this done. I want to have my MVP up and running. And then as time goes on, I can always go back and update and change little things and do different things to the application to make sure that it's good, it's up to date, and it's modern. But in order to get there, I have to have something first. Otherwise, I'd be doing this for forever because there's always going to be something new to incorporate into the project. So, in addition to adding that dialogue, and I didn't get to doing that yet. So, as of right now, this is the dialogue. So let me go and hit save, and this is what I have right now. So I didn't finish designing this thing, obviously, but I just wanted this to be a template to showcase what's going to happen, because I really didn't plan through how I want everything to look just yet. And we can do that here. Um, Actually, yeah. So what I'm thinking is, well, I don't really know, right? So what I do is to kind of get my creative juices flowing is to go on Google, and I'll just say like success dialogue, right? And that's all you really have to do. So you got something like this, success, right? Um, and this is simple enough, right? We could probably work with something like this, or we can be fancier and do other stuff. This actually looks nicer because it's all self-contained, so I can work with this because I can style that easier. This would also work too, but you see that it relies a bit on the overlay as opposed to well, this is still relying on the overlay as well, so we probably could have used this. And as of right now, this close button doesn't even work. So that will probably be the first course of action, right? And I'll just show you guys how I created this dialogue, and it's actually a whole lot easier and simpler than. Oh, I didn't mean to delete the whole footer. Oh well, it's in tech hell now. But because I did that, actually let me just hit cancel because I didn't want to delete the whole footer. So cancel. I just wanted to delete this loader thing that was on it. Didn't have any luck with it yesterday, but I just want to say my computer was throwing a fit, and that's why it didn't work. I could be wrong. And another thing I probably should have done was to open VS Code as an administrator. And actually, let me go ahead and try that because that might be what the issue was. And I'm not sure if having my application running has any issue with that either. And I'm a little afraid to stop. Actually, I'll just go ahead and stop it just because, I mean, this is a problem that has to be solved, right? And you guys might experience it somewhere along the way. So let's try to go back to VS Code. And this time, I'm not going to do it as an administrator just yet because I want to see what happens. So let's go ahead and open this and just make sure that the code running wasn't the problem. So, yeah, cool. Alright, so we wanted to delete this thing. Let's see if it'll go now. Now, if it doesn't go now, then we know we got to do some other stuff. So delete permanently. You guys can see that, but that was just a pop up for administrative position permission. Still didn't work, so I'm just gonna close it and open and run it as an administrator and see if that helps at all. If not, then I'll have to do something offline probably. Actually, I didn't try this. Let me just delete it straight from the folder. And I'll tell you guys, I did do something really, really hacky when I first got this computer. I spelled my name. I didn't like the name that it assigned me, so I changed it. And when I changed it, I had to go into like the system settings, like really deep stuff that I probably shouldn't have touched. And I touched it anyway. Using my YouTube and Google. I did some research before I just went in there and started scrolling stuff. But when I did that, it screwed up a lot of stuff. I thought I got it working, but I might still be seeing that to this day. I wouldn't know. So let me try to delete it this way. There we go. Yeah, I have permission. Okay, so let me try to can't even open as a administrator. So this is a deeper problem. So what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to just try to drag it into the recycle bin, you know, and see if that works. If that doesn't work, then I'll have to troubleshoot that offline because again, I told you guys I did something really, really shaky. Really shaky actually. Here, move to the recycle bin. Come on, continue. You need permission. Like, I don't know why it doesn't recognize me at all. Don't put no respect on my name at all. Um, yeah, I'll worry about it later. But I don't want to commit this stuff to my code base, which is the real problem there. Um, but it is what it is. I just don't want to take up you guys' time troubleshooting that. So I'll move past it for now, and then we'll get to it later. So yeah, so the code for this is actually really, really simple, right? So only thing I had to do was create a component for the dialog to host it, and give it a selector, and give it a URL, right? Give it a template. And in this template URL, this is literally it, right? You you call in the template like as so. You give it some styling. In this particular case, they chose to use a style like this, and if you go up in Angular, it shows you it's really that simple. So if you go to overview, this is really all you have to do. There's some config stuff that you can do. So right here you can change the size, you can change the height, the width, and I believe some other properties in there. And the only thing I want to do right now is add in that close button, and then here they're doing something dynamic stuff. This result is pretty much changing, it seems like, or they just adding it to the string that's being console loaded. um, you can have other kind of options going in there. It has the backdrop thing, sharing data, so you can pass in some data with it, which is probably what we're going to want to do, because we're going to want to pass in a response. We're going to want to do we're going to want to pass in the response. We're going to want to pass in the response message, things like that. So what I did was, and let me close this one because this one isn't listening for anything, and I need to kick off the build again, and we'll just wait for that. But while we're waiting, we can still go ahead and code. So what I want to do here is, let's go ahead and set it up so that way it can take that information that we're going to pass it. So what you saw here over in the browser, on the Angular dialog setup, if we were to pass in some data, that means as you see here, you're injecting the data and you have to pass it in, and it's really that simple. So note that if you're using a template dialog, one that was open with a template ref, the data will be available implicitly in the template. So that's pretty much it. And then these are the directives that are available. You have the title, you have the dialog attribute, dialog title applied to heading elements like H1, H2, so that's cool. The dialog content, so this is like the core of what's happening, and then you got some actions, and these are pretty much the buttons that are going to happen. And with these, they already have some default alignment. So container for action buttons at the bottom of the dialog. Button alignment can be controlled via the align attribute, which can be set to end and center. So you can have free reign over that. And then close, right? Attribute added to a button makes the button close the dialog with an optional result from the bound value. Don't really know about that, but let's go ahead and check that because I didn't notice the thing closing. You know, when we clicked on the button, I didn't see any response. And before we test it again, okay, cool, we got that up and running. So now we go over here. I'm going to hit save. It's going to fail, and close isn't working. And let me hit F12 on this thing to see if there's any reaction when I click this. Nothing at all. So if you give it a second, well, not give it a second. So I might have to do this manually. Mat button, mat dialog close definitely isn't working. Let me go over back here because I actually just copied and pasted the code. So click that. So this one just opens, and then you can always close the dialog by clicking on the side of it. So that's cool. I mean, not cool, but I mean that's another workaround. But nobody knows that, right? And I think I have to bind this maybe. Shouldn't have to, but I mean this is the part where they mean it's optional. An optional result from the bound value. So let me just make it true and see if that matters at all. Equals true. And then save that and see what happens here. Nope, still nothing. And let's go, there we go. Save, boom, close. Still not closing. So let's go mat. Actually, I want to leave this open because this is what we need. I want to keep that. So let's go mat dialog close, not closing. And let's see. You have this error because you open the dialog outside of the NG zone. An easy fix to import the NG zone into the constructor. I don't see anything about that being in here. So let's go all the way back up. So they do have a button for closing this one. Well, no thanks, right? So let's go look at the thing here. I don't see, what's your name? Mat input, ng model name, list item, button. But I don't see anything for closing. Mat raised button. I didn't even see the button for OK. Oh, here it is here. I'm sorry. So mat dialog close is data.animal. Whatever that means. So no thank. Oh, okay. So click on no click. No thanks. So let's look at the TS and see what on no click does. This dialog.ref close. So let's just do it explicitly. So let's just say equals on close. On close, and we'll say here we'll go down into, we need to get in between that, and we'll just say on close. And I need to put my open and closing parentheses. And then we'll just say this dot, and probably a few things missing here now that I look at it. This is actually the example that we're trying to do. So it seems like it has to be closed wherever you call it. So let me, but if you bind it there, that's a little weird. Oh no, it's down in here. Okay. And then in this component, I don't see any dialog. Oh, I see it here. So let me just pull this constructor in because I didn't actually grab this stuff here. So let me grab this. This is probably important. So response dialog component. So I don't know even know how I missed this the first go around. So let's go. Cool. And I'm just gonna do Control V. And then the reason why this is not working is because it needs to be response dialog component. And I gotta import this. Yeah. And then dialog data. I'm going to import that as well. Wait, I don't need a semicolon there. I think it just doesn't know what this is. I need to import inject though. This is a let me just import all missing imports. So from here, it thinks it should be a semicolon, but I think it's missing. It's because I don't have this wrapped in a constructor. Constructor, and we're gonna wrap this as well. Unless that was already, no, it wasn't. Actually, yeah, it was. So this should all be good now. Because, yeah, these two are paired. This has its own thing. So it's thinking this that this is one thing. A parameter property is only allowed in a constructor implementation. I think I need to put something else in this. So let's go to implement this dialog ref. That might be the issue here. So let's go on close. Do this dot dialog ref dot close. Still not liking it. Did I spell constructor right? Constructor public dialog ref. And I'm just making sure I don't have any commas in here or anything like that. And it's literally the same here in the constructor. Oh, I see. There we go. And I thought I imported this. Cannot find name dialog data. Do I even have anything that's type dialog data? Oh, so this is it here, right? As of right now, we don't have anything for the dialog data. So I'm actually just going to comment this out because we are going to need it later. And now we are happy. So now let's save both. And then we can go over to our app here. And I gotta fix the header again. I lost it when I nuked everything. So now we're here. Save. Close. Still not closing. Let me see. I didn't bind to this. Well, I didn't have to bind, but I didn't do that. And I think I have to do something a little bit more deeper. I think it's supposed to be like a click on that. Yeah, it's a click. And again, I don't know what's up with this thing, but it just ain't working, so I'm just going to do it manually. And this parentheses, I don't think I mentioned it before, but this is saying it's event binding. You see me implement it before, but I never explained it. Yep, there we go. So now it closes. So cool, we got that. So let's take a second to think about all of the options that we have. So for instance, you guys aren't gonna be able to see this, but I'll explain in a second. Actually, you might. So we can potentially have a 200 whatever, right? These are all success, so it doesn't really matter. Granted, we should only be getting a 201. I can use these. I didn't. Where's my eraser? Thought I had this thing sitting next to it. Interesting. How does one misplace a huge eraser? And I'm about to dry up my marker. So, scratch that. You can have a 200 error. Oh, here it is. You can have a 200. You can have even 300s, 400s, or 500s. As we saw before, we're only going to see a few types of 500 errors, and those errors are, we can actually go look that up. I'm going to do it here. And list of, actually I want this one. This one was neater. So as of right now, we only are going to give either 200. We're either going to give 200 or a 201. I probably could have given a 202, but that's something for later, right? So for right now, we're only accepting either a 200 or a 201, right? That's all we are accepting right now. We don't have any 300 error. 300 responses, and I didn't mean to say 200 error. I need to say 200 response. And then in terms of 400 responses, we have a 400, we have a 401, we have 404, and we have 409 responses. So all of those are important. And then we have our 500s. So we know we can get a 500 error. That's the normal, conflict with the server. And then we saw that there's this 504. And the 504 is when you stop the server. So if I were to go in right now, right, let's go F12. And right now you see when we're doing the basic stuff without the form, but invalid data, we get the 400 as expected. If we go in and let's see, where was I going with this? Oh, sorry, I lost my train of thought here. There's actually a few things I could have done, but I'll save that for later once I get everything going. Forget where I'm trying to go here. Oh yeah, so I wanted to stop the Node.js server temporarily. All right, and you see if we send this thing off again. There we go. Over here, you see that 504, and that's the gateway timeout. That means the server's down, right? So let's go ahead and kick it back off. Okay, npm run dev. There we go. And so that's one error that that's something we have to account for, right? Another one, I think that's all the ones that we push out. I looked at that 502 here that seemed kind of along the lines that could work, but I don't think this is the error we're gonna hit. The server, while acting as a gateway or proxy, received an invalid response from an inbound server. It accessed while attempting to fulfill the request. I don't think I'm gonna have to worry about this. If I do, then I'll just have to update the code, but I don't see that coming in any of the code, just because I haven't configured anything to give that error. And these errors are kind of predestined. Well, all of these are predestined, I guess. But we can control which ones we're sending out from the server. And the only one we had to count for was if the server was down. If the front end server goes down that we created, then everything's just going to fall apart. It's never going to load, right? It's going to be nothing showing. So don't have to worry about that. I don't know about 403, right? That's a little different than what we have going on. So those are the responses that we want to send back. So if we go here, right, I think the one I really liked was this one. It was nice and colorful, but it's a bit on the excessive side. So I want to try something a little different. That's nice, but super artsy. So then you have these things, or they're using some gradients. So these are kind of cool. Um, but I don't want that. And these are like 1992. I do like this one. Again, I like the colors. I like the concept. They're simple. But I do want to bring a little bit of flavor and some color to the page. So something like this gives me that option because I can always make these. Purple and green probably won't be the best combinations. Um, who knows? But if we look down here, I do have some indications of what's going on. So let's go ahead and get ready for that. So in here, I believe, oh, wrong thing. So I wanted to open up a different project. I wanted to open up this. So I don't know why this opened instead. So in this one, this is the dashboard for me. I don't have any responses configured, so never mind. So what we're going to do is I'm just going to go with what we already have right now, and then we can always, and then I'm going to change it as we go. So what's going to happen is we're going to go ahead and get ready to create that response. This was it, data dialog data, right? So we can go up here and we can export dialog data from here. Export class, I believe. No, it might be interface, because if it's a class, then you have to create an instance of that class, and we don't. And when I say instance, it's like, think about like a phone, right? Everything has a model number. You can have multiple versions, multiple, um, multiple like nobody. There's more than one iPhone 8, right? So think about it, something like that, where it's like that's pretty much like a class. It's like, hey, you gotta have, if you have this thing, it meets this it meets the specifications, then it's an iPhone 8. If you're talking about, like, let's say water in a cup, if water in a cup fits a specific size, shape, all that kind of stuff, then it's water, or like something like that. Like if it's like, oh, if you want to go chemistry route, something has specific um, molar weight and molar density, all that kind of stuff, then it's a specific atom, right? That's the kind of stuff that's kind of like the difference. I mean, I guess you have to understand um, science to a certain degree to get that one, but yeah, I'm not really good at examples. I have my moments, but I'm not that great at it. I'll admit that. So yeah, but that's pretty much it. It's they're similar but different, and I think dialog data, and now the dialog data needs to have the code. So let's go status code, right? And actually we don't really need the status code. Status code's cool to get, but you don't really need it. You just need let's go with the status code, because we're gonna handle that differently. So let's go status code, because status code is going to trigger some stuff, and this is going to be a number. And then we're also going to want to have a I think I used that. And then below that, you're going to want to have the message. So what is going on? And I believe this is everything. You just want the message, and we want the code, right? Anything else seems a little redundant, but not redundant, but just unnecessary. So we can go actually here and check that out. So if we go down here, we get the message, the name, the status. So actually it's just status, so we can just say status. So let's not make this more complicated than it has to be, right? So we got status. We got the message, and that's pretty much it. And I'm going to do one quick thing in the service, and that's to say it's either going, this thing is going to give us a it's going to either give us an HTTP response or an HTTP error response. And the problem here is that the HTTP response has to have a type. And I'm lazy, so I'm just going to call it object. Otherwise, I have to create a model to act as, I have to create an interface for what's coming back. And now here is just having an issue because let's see what type observable HTTP blah blah blah. So I think it's because of this object we added on here at the end. So if I take that off, it actually didn't work. So I think what I have to do is do dot, and let's see what we can do here, because we just want the HTTP response at this point. So that's really what's given us here. Actually, how, I wonder if I say response dot subscribe, and then we subscribe to the response, and then we just take the value. So I'm just gonna say response because I want to keep it consistent, because it is the response, and then we're gonna return the response. That should get us inside of whatever we're going. So yeah, this is either going to be the HTTP response object or the thing that we were looking at. And I think I need to remove that return and leave the one we have. Yes, so excuse me. And subscribe is depreciated, use an observer instead of a complete callback. So let's, you know, if it's depreciated, then we gotta follow along, right? That means it's not gonna work for long. So let's figure out what other options we have in here. So we can just go from here. We have it as observable. Let's see. Dot value. Yeah, that's not what I want. So let's just do it's an observable of that. Observable. And I needed to do this thing, I believe. This flipped all kinds of wrong. And I think I gotta import it. Yep. And do the same here. Observable. So again, I'm not the best with these observables, and what I probably could have done was, actually, let me show you guys. This is something I do think I remember. So since I can't get access to this, since I know it's an observable, I can just do a dot pipe and a map. And when I map this, I can get the value that I wanted. I want to say return. Actually, I can just do a dot pipe, really. I'll just say value, I think. Type observable object is not assignable to type HTTP response. Type observable. Let me see this. How to get contents of HTTP observable. There we go. So now let's look at the documentation, because if it's depreciated, hopefully the documentation has been updated. So that's what's happening here. Before you, let's see. The HTTP client service makes use of observables for all transactions. You must import the RxJS observable and operator symbols that appear in the example snippets. So what we wanted to do was take advantage of these and use those. So this right here is what they're saying is, no, this isn't it. This is the observable that we're getting back as of right now. This is what we wanted to do, but this has since been depreciated. The types of the observe and response options are all string unions. So if we change the response type, we might be able to get around this because it'll just be JSON and we can work with JSON. Let's see. Well, that's interesting. Types of the observe and response options are string unions rather than plain strings. So this works. Get response type. Oh, it has to be that object. I'm not following it exactly, but it just means they have to be on the same line. In the second case, TypeScript infers the type of options can be response string. The type is too wide to pass to http.get, which is expecting the type of response type to be one of the specific strings. Oh, I see here. I see. It's this specific object, and this is taking it as like JSON, I believe. Let's see. Reading the full response. I just really just want to figure out how to get the configuring, intercepting requests and responses, handling intercept events. We already have an interceptor in here, but that's not. I don't believe that's what we're trying to do. Switch map takes a function and returns as an takes a function argument that returns as an observable. In the example, blah blah blah, returns as an observable as other data service methods do if a previous search request is still in flight. Okay, so that's not what we want. Let's go reading the full. Let's say let's just try to change the response type here and see if that gets it for us. So as of this point, we're passing that in as the options. We want to go. Let me get back to the rest of the options. So we're observing the response, and then we want to change the response type to JSON. Let's see if that works. So I believe I gotta go in here and do comma response type. If I go JSON, does that change anything? Nope. Type observable is the response object is missing the following properties from type HTTP. Yeah, we get that. Let me just change it here. Response type. And go JSON. Here. Alright, so let me dig into this a little bit more. Angular, how to get observable contents. Let's get the current value. I think I gotta do dot next. Yeah, so let's do this, and let's say dot next, and then something has to go in here. So not really sure there. So let's just do dot pipe, and then when I pipe this, let's do a map. And in order for this to work, I do have to import this. So let's go map, because now we're altering, I believe, the stuff. Should have been imported. Is it dot map? A subject is or observable. Everything was great, but evidently which doesn't need to describe, it just needs the current value. Subject or observer doesn't have a current value. When the value is emitted, it's passed. What it you want to have a current value, use behavior subject. Nope, that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna work. So let me just check out this dot pipe. Observable pipe map. And I know I spelled it wrong. I should fix it. And this is a pretty big topic in Angular and even I believe in React. I haven't done anything in React, so I could be wrong, but I know these are pretty big things. Um, so what I'm looking for is map. So let's just go straight to map. Yeah, so in the map, it's probably just map because I don't have the syntax corrected. So let me just go with that, and let me just go with response here, and then I'm gonna do my little fancy operator there, and then we're gonna return this, and we're gonna say return response. But I know this isn't the solution, so I'm actually not sure of how we're gonna work with this, because I do need to have, I wanted to have this specified as specific objects, so that way we can work with it. But if it's not gonna play fair, there's not really much I can do with that, except for what I did on the other side was to type it. So let's go there, and then it's gonna do either that or it's gonna be an HTTP error response. And now we've got some stuff to work with. And then back over to here, we can either, let's go ahead and clean, actually we gotta do a few more things in the setup. So here we're going to use this stuff, right? And we need to say, let's open this thing up, and we got to do some stuff with the data, right? So since we're injecting this directly in here, it's already available on the other side. So the only thing we have to do is in this HTML is we'll say this is either going to be success or not. And the way I'm going to do this is going to say actually I'm gonna I might have to, I'm trying to think of a way to dynamically do this. Let me check something out. Let's go with let's successfully create a thing in here. I'm going to leave it as untitled. It's going to be test. I'm not going to upload an image. This is another test sending. And then we're going to save this and just see what the response object looks like. And we got a 409, which is not bad. So let's change this to Untitled 2 and then save it and see what happens. Boom, close. Is that another conflict? We are, I forgot the category. Test, save. What the heck? Either the back end stopped or we got an error somewhere else. Oh, it's not setting the value on this thing. So did I wonder if I missed anything there. No, because when we look here at the response, we're not getting that. We got conflict. So let's go ahead and clear that and try this one more time. So I thought it would stay there. It's probably only showing us, it's probably not showing us anything because it's more than one. And there's no way to actually cancel this option, so I probably need to work on that too. But let's go ahead and save. I'm just gonna hit schedule, see what happens. So we're still getting conflicts with this thing. What is the conflict? So we're not getting anything more than that, really. So let's say testing again from Angular. Let's try that. And then category, test, and then save. And let's check the console on that. So that one probably actually went through, and that's why we're not seeing anything. So what I probably should have done was console log my stuff. So let's just go console.log response. Oh, data. So let's see something go through, right? So we can close this, let it recompile, untitled 2.3, test, blah blah blah, blah blah blah, and save. So now we got something cool. And this time we got an HTTP response, and it's fairly similar, right? So now we got created, so now we can actually just use that. Let's just use as much stuff as we can get for free. That way we save extra processing, things like that. So let's say status text, right? And that's also going to be a string. And I don't really think there's anything else to get at this point. You know, you got some headers in here that we don't need to use. There's no body because we didn't send anything back. Yeah, that's all we need. So let's go and use that in our template. So we're gonna go here and we'll say, oh, there will be some processing that we'll have to do, but you'll see in a second. And we're literally only gonna show either a check or we're gonna show something else. So we're gonna go right here and we're gonna say, first we're just gonna use status text, right? We're gonna say, forgot what it was. What's the variable we used? Data. So we'll do data dot, and it's not saved, so actually nothing's saved. So let's save it. Something might break, but don't worry about it. Data dot status text, I believe. And then over here we want to do data dot data dot I think it's message. Get the S out of here, and then I want to go and use that's really it. So oh, I know what I wanted to do. This status code the status itself is going to depict if we're going to use checks or not, but let's do one thing at a time, right? So I think I missed something as well, but let's see. Oh yeah, I didn't pass in any of that over here. So let's go to post, and then we go to this open dialog. So yeah, when we go to this open dialog, we're gonna say we need to pass in the data, I believe. And we can just check here, right? This dialog open, and in this particular case we used open dialog, so we got to go down here, and then we'll do the comma, and then we'll pass in the data. So data is going to be an object. So now we can go in here and just say we can pass in data. And in this particular case, it's going to be, actually I need to export it so that it can be dialogue data, I believe. No, what did I call this? Yeah, I did call it dialogue data. And it should be able to have this and import it and stuff. Sorry, my dog was doing some weird stuff. Rolling his face. Might be in pain. Huh. I don't think so. Skip. Oh, whatever it was, he stopped. Wait, why is he not aware of this? I think he's trying to make his bed comfortable. Oh, I see what the problem is here. Data, and it needs to be dialogue data here. There we go. And what's the problem here? Dialogue data has no properties in common with Matt. Oh, okay. So when we pass in the data here, I see you gotta do the object like that. So data, and then pass it in just like that. Dialogue data, but when you go here and use it, it doesn't seem to work the same. Which is interesting, because you got the interface here for that. And what was the error they were giving us? Dialogue data has no problem in common with Mat dialogue config. So I wonder if anywhere in this config, excuse me, how did I set those up to be similar? Oh, I see. It's just one of those things that's similar. So I need to say this is going to be Mat dialogue config, and seems like it let me do it like that. So I'll leave it that way. And then in here, the only thing I'm going to do is this data has got to be manipulated, right? So we're going to say open dialog, and then what you got to do is we're going to have to do this. We say data, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to use a spread operator. Should work. I believe this is how it works. Is it 2 dots or 3 dots? Data dots. Oh yeah. This is tricky because what I'm doing is you see here we created this thing called data that has this setup. So when I pass this data in, it's not the same. Oh, I know it. I didn't think about this before, but instead of passing data like that, we need to do something like this. And then if I do data dot 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 data, I don't think I really need to do this, so let me not, and just see what happens. And then in this particular case, data is going to be data. No, I can't do that. So we're gonna say data dot status, data dot status text, and then data dot message. And oh, it's outside of the scope of everything that's going on in here, so I need to put this up another level. It's not accessible. argument of type uh, hmm data.status text no data dot stat. Okay, so we can get access to that, but for some reason it doesn't like it here. And what I think I have to do is I have to specify this. I have to say data, I think, like this, and then let's say data, and then it's got all the things in there. So I need to say status is data dot status. There it is. In this case, it would be status text. It's gonna be equal to that, and then message is going to be data dot message. And I think this is property message does not exist on. So I need to fix this. So it seems like it doesn't exist on either one of these. Property message does not exist on type, and I think the reason why that is because that's right. So quickly send that so we can see it. Oh, a few things actually. That's why I wanted to see the HTTP response. Oh, here we go. Let's go with this here. So the way you get message, so it's only if it's an error. Oh, I see here. The error was that object that I sent back. So I wonder what happened if I didn't send that. And then let's do a little bit more manipulating, and then send it off again. And of course, don't worry about that. That means it's at least working to pull stuff in. So here, there is no message. So what I should do is probably just put body in there. So it's going to be either message is going to be data.message or data dot body, right? Excuse me. I guess the first thing I need to do is figure out how to so the only way to really do this is to handle it, say either we're sending a response or we're sending an error. So we're probably going to have to catch the error right in the service call. Not in the service call, but right in the service. Handle that, and then send all that information back over to the user. And not really. Yeah. So we can probably say just if. So we can say here, right? We can do this, and we can say if data dot errors, then we can say const. Well, we probably should use yeah, we can probably use const. Result is of type HTTP error response equals data. HTTP response object. So I gotta figure out where this is being created. Somehow it still knows that what this thing is. So let me take this off too and see if that changes anything. It changes quite a few things. So at this point it's just object. So let's go ahead and leave it there. That's perfectly fine. And I'll just take out the message for now, and we'll get to that. We'll get to that later. Just want to get this thing up and running, but we do need to have the message going. So So we'll say there definitely is a message property on the error, so I don't know how I'm gonna get around that. Because it's saying either or, right? It didn't say both. So if we go with the status text, does that give us enough? It doesn't give us enough. So, oh, there is a message up in here in the error response. So what if I did error dot, is this in the errors thing? Yeah, but I can probably do error dot message and see if that'll give me something. Error, nope, error dot message. So a lot of things that happen in here is like implicit typing. So say HTTP response or HTTP response, and for some reason it has to have a type. So let's just use response. Oh, didn't like that. But if we put any, let's put any. That might save us. Nope. And we're missing a closing parenthesis. This dot open dot, oh, we're missing a closing tag somewhere. No, no, we're not. Oh yeah, we are. We had too many. Seems. And even though it says this doesn't exist, I'm gonna take a lim out and just run it anyway. See what happens. It might give us an error just because you know, TypeScript, it's really strict. Oh, maybe not. So look at that. We got the error stuff that we're looking for. We didn't get our pop-up though. So there may be something going on there. So let's just take this out, and we'll take the message out on the other side as well, so we don't have any conflicts. And then I'm gonna go in the template here and pull that out. Here I'll just put in the status. So I really want those both to be side by side. Save. Still no pop-up. So I think I might have messed up the way we're calling the pop-up here, because the only thing I did was pass in this object and then try to pass it in here. If I remove this and don't do anything with it, let's see if that works. And this is just kind of like piece by piece testing, seeing if something that I broke is causing this to happen, or maybe something else. Seems like in this case it might be something else. Let's take all this out. And what might need to happen is to say const result, and then use this as the dialog data equals that. But again, it doesn't really matter because either way this thing ain't working. So let this thing reload. Save, still not working, and now I'm going to go over here and see if it's because of this. Like, it's expecting something to be injected, and that's not. Alright, so we're just not getting any pop-up at all. So this should not be happening. This stuff gets pretty irritating sometimes. Oh, I think I had those types on it. That was weird. Alright, so what did I change? Let's go ahead and set everything back to when it did work. Right. So it probably just didn't allow the function call within that save, but I can't say that because it did work before. And it threw a bunch of errors. Oh, maybe I was wrong. I was wrong. So we can't call it inside of here. So what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to say let results, right? And that is gonna be our dialog data. And then what we'll do is we'll pass in the dialog data here, and we'll just say result. And this actually works in our favor because now we can say result equals, and now we have an object that we're going to say status, and it'll be data dot status, and then we're going to say status text. It's going to be data dot status text. So going with that, and then now we have to say over here, we want to say data result, right? And pass in the result, and this is going to be of type dialog data. I think it wants a space here. And then now we can go over and say create this object and just pass in the results. And booyah. And it's not working right now because we still have this commented out. Argument of type result dialog data is not assignable. That wasn't what I was trying to do. Result dialog data. Result. Maybe I need to do result dot status instead of this. Maybe say result dot status. I don't think this will work. Yeah, that's not it. Yeah, that worked. Okay. So if you hover over here, dialog data. What happens if I remove it if it still works? We say, hey, we do need to keep that there. That's how we get access to this outside of this code block. And still not liking this though. So let's go back over here and look at the setup. So when we want to pass in data, we have to do it this way. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll say data is results. There we go. So now we got it working. And we should see that reflected here. So let's go save. Still not getting a bunch of stuff. Cannot read property status text of undefined. So I think what's happening is that this thing is not resolved yet. So while we're in here, it's like this stuff isn't resolved. So what I want to do is put this on the end. So what I want to do is let all that process, and then I want to dot adds a teardown to be called during the unsubscribed. Dispose of the resource held by the subscription. May, for instance, cancel. No, this is not what I'm looking for. Oh, we already subscribed to this here. So with that, still pretty interesting though. The data is still getting printed out to the console. So let's say this. Let's say const result. Let's say const data equals this, right? So this should be something that'll finish. And if I get this correctly, even if we do a dot subscribe, this is depreciated. Oh, maybe not. dot pipe map, and then now we can pick out the stuff that we want, and we don't have map imported. And then we can say data. I'm gonna say result equals data. We say status. It's data dot status, and then we'll do status text, and then we do data dot status text. Try it this way. What's the problem here? Shadow name data. I think they want me to do this. Nope. Shadow name. I don't even know what that means, to be honest, so I'm gonna ignore that. Because it's not a real error. It's more like a this thing. Hans data equals, and I don't really need to do this anymore because with the map we were able to handle that. And then I can pull this out, and I'm not sure if this will continue to work the way I think it's gonna work, but only one way to find out. So click here, click save. Cannot read property of undefined because I need this to resolve first. So if I store it there, right, say response here, and then just store the response in this thing, grab all this, get rid of that, and I can get rid of this as well. And then what we want to do is do that, and instead of data it'll be response, and this will be response. Ooh, I see. This does make it difficult. So what's again, so that's probably why you have to handle these calls somewhere else. And so what that means is that instead of calling this thing here, we need to have this going somewhere else. And so pull this out, and I'm even going to get rid of this. Get rid of all of that, and I'll even go as far as commenting that out. Reason being, I don't think I'm going to need it, because I'm going to go down to the service, and then in the service I'm going to go down here to dot catch error. So that's what I need to do here. So now I need to go down into Angular and say figure out to catch errors. Provide an interceptor, handling interceptor events. Testing for errors. Yep, here we go. So what I do, I'm just gonna do Angular HTTP error handling. Streamlined error handling. So I'm just gonna do control. Oh, here it is here. Streamlined error handling. If the response fails on the server, HTTP client returns an error object instead of a successful response. The same service that performs your server transactions should also perform error inspection, interpretation, and resolution. When an error occurs, you can obtain details of what failed in order to inform your user. In some cases, you might automatically retry the request. Getting error details. An app should give the user useful feedback when data access fails. A raw error object is not particularly useful as feedback. In addition to detecting that an error has occurred, you need to get error details and use those details to compose a user-friendly response. Two types of errors can occur. The server backend might reject a request, returning the HTTP response with a status code such as 404 or 500. These are error responses. Something could go wrong on the client side, such as a network error that prevents the request from completing successfully, or an exception thrown in an RxJS operator. These errors produce JavaScript error event objects. HTTP client captures both kinds of errors in its HTTP error response. You can expect that response to identify the error's cause. The following example defines an error handler in the previous defined config service. So here is the error handler. So well, this is just the error handler. So what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna grab all of this, and then here it's I see they piped and then caught the errors down there. The handler returns an RxJS error observable with a user-friendly error message. The following code updates the getConfig method using a pipe to send all observables returned by the HTTP client.get call to the error handler. So this is what we're going to do. We're gonna leave that. We're gonna leave the response alone as opposed to trying to manipulate it, right? Well, actually, we're gonna do .pipe, and then in this .pipe, we can call on. We can just do catch error. So that must be a RxJS thing that we have access to, and in here, it's gonna be the error handler that we're more than likely gonna have to inject, I believe. So it'll be this .error handler. There we go. Now we've got something going on. And since they said pass, yeah, handle error, right? Since this doesn't exist quite yet, excuse me, and this is the error handler, and these are both within the config service.ts. So again, I can copy this, paste it in here, and I'm gonna put this a little lower down. Can't find name HTTP error response, which is fine because we are going to add the missing import. And it seems like we're missing the import on this. I should add all missing, but I just like to see sometimes. So now let's go ahead in here and figure out how we're gonna work with this. I believe this is now good to go. So yeah, that pipe is a way for you to manipulate the information, I want to say. And we can go back to RxJS and verify that, right? Piping. Pipeable operators are functions, so they could be used like ordinary functions, but in practice there tend to be many of them convolve together and quickly become unreadable. For that reason, observables have a method called pipe that accomplishes the same thing while being much easier to read. So that's pretty much what it is. It's just provide pretty much you're performing a function on the output, and that's probably the best way I can describe that. And it just allows you to read it much easier. So here I don't even think I needed to do this pipe for whatever I was doing there. It probably is honestly the same thing as before. Just need to handle the error. So let's go ahead and do this. But before I get too deep into that, I want to make sure that this was everything they had to say about errors. Yeah, that seems to be it actually. Getting error details. And then once we go here, this is a completely different thing. So that's actually pretty good because it's simple. So in here we want to say if error.error is instance of an error event, a client.network. And so this is actually notes. The backend return an unsuccessful response code. The response body may contain clues as to what went wrong. So here we can actually give that stuff back. As opposed to doing that, I want to actually use that pop-up that we used. So I'm going to inject that here. So let's use this public dialog mat dialog and see if we can get something from this. Otherwise, I'll just use a toast message to say it's successful and then automatically redirect. Import dialog. Yeah. So and then I'll even go ahead and grab this to see if that works. So I'm gonna uncomment it, and then I'm gonna hit Control X on that to cut it out, and then I'm gonna paste it over here, and then I'll just go here, and this will just be another private open dialog. I'm not gonna pass anything into it. I just want to see if it works, and I gotta import this. And now only thing I'm gonna do, instead of console log, I'm just gonna do actually I do want to leave that thing in there. Import that and import that dialog data. Yeah, cool. So what's gonna happen here is that we're gonna pass this result data in there. And I think we might be able to do it like this. We might be able to say open, and it'll, since we have the type checking in there, we'll know if it works or not. Open dialog, and we'll do this. We'll say status, boom, and then another comma here. Not another, but you get what I'm saying. And this will be status text, and this will be all that, and voila. Oh, I need a closing bracket here, and voila, we've got our open dialog here. And then otherwise we're gonna have something else. So I don't know what to put with anything else. This is probably, and since it didn't do any return, this is probably what happened. So so we'll probably throw it there then. So we'll say if errors instance of, so let me put these back to normal really quick. And then actually I'll save it for a second because we're console logging. So we're gonna just do piece by piece, make sure stuff is working. I figured we didn't need that, and I don't see any other problems. Cool. So let's go over here and let's get rid of that. And they got the final line, so cool. We're missing a semicolon in here somewhere. It's not obvious to me, but if I click on it, it'll show me exactly where. Boom. Semicolon, no problems. Cool. Let's save, and we're gonna look at our terminal. Let's clear it up because we got a lot of stuff going on there. Null injector. So I think that injector is probably talking about this. Yep. So let me go and get that injector out of there. So if I can find it. So this injector is probably gonna, I wanted to say it's gonna have to go into the app module, but let's see what error we get first. Admin module. Wait, huh? All injector. Oh yeah, so it's in here. No, Error caught. Null injector error in the admin module. Post service, mat dialog, mat dialog. Oh, I think I need to null provider for mat dialog. Interesting. Not sure about the provider for this. So, and there might be a, usually they tell you about errors down here. So I'm just going to copy this error and just look it up really quick. Control Shift C. No provider for, let me just, oh, no provider for mat dialog. So it seems that you forgot to add the injector. Oh yeah, mat dialog data to the constructor. And then where is this happening? So I do have to go back to the app module and add this stuff again. Not the app module, admin module. C. Huh. Provides. Let me go here and just say provide. Oops. Actually, this isn't really too clear, so I'm gonna see if I can find another conversation about this. This is a little bit more clear. Mat dialog module. Yeah, so this is pretty solid actually. You should prevent passing null. I want to say it's because in the service we said we're gonna use mat dialog, but I think we were using something else over here. Let's see. Oh, I can probably do this a lot easier if instead of putting that, I put what they have over here, which was, oh, they did have that. Public dialog, mat dialog, so that's true. But for some reason it's not pulling in the information like I thought it would. Let's see if we can fix this. You will get the exact. So you got this going in there. You will get that exact. No provider for mat dialog ref error in case you decide your dialogs to put an HTML selector. There's no do not claim HTML selector of the dot component anywhere. You need to import this module. Mat dialog module. You need to pass this. Yeah, I'm not seeing that because we already have the injection here. So I'm not seeing what's going on. So I'm actually just going to take this out. And I'm going to take the other one out. The reason being, I don't need them right now anyway. And then I'll put them back in when I'm ready to use it. Because we're on a mission. The mission is to verify that the errors that we were looking for work. And oh, actually, let's get rid of the title. So save. Should be getting an error. I'm not seeing an error. If I look at the network, should have seen some rejections. Seems like the call didn't even go off. Let me clear it. Save it. Missing. So let's take a look into this a little deeper. Because we got this dot handle error. Return if else. Return throw error. Something happened, please try again later. And not liking that so far. But this is a necessary evil, so we gotta figure this out. What I'm gonna do is refresh the page. No particular reason, but I just figured I gotta help. So I'm gonna clear it and then just hit save. The fact that I'm not seeing anything on the console is bothering me. Because I thought I would at least seen that, because these are supposed to console log and they're not console logging. So what if I make this public? I doubt that'll do anything, but I'm just doing it just to see. It doesn't change anything. And that definitely should be private anyway, so. So we did our pipe and we do dot whatever, right? Actually stuck here. Oh wait, what's changed? Let's go back over to Angular and see if I missed something. Error. So it doesn't seem like we had to do any additional importing. And everything's called so far in simplicity. So I'm not seeing. But the thing that's bothering me is that I'm not seeing any traffic on the network either. And we should have at least seen that. So I'm gonna just stop the front end for a second. It seems like it was actually behind. So hopefully it won't take too long to run. And if we can get this going in a timely fashion, we'll have a little less to worry about. Okay, here we go. So let's see what we've got here. Alright. Nothing. And then even on the network, I didn't see that go out. So I think it is stuck. Because right now it's like, okay, we handled the error, but this is only if there's an error. If there's no error, it doesn't do anything. So I wonder if this is restricting the response from going out. So let me pull this off of it just to make sure that that isn't a problem, because it's saying that you want to observe the full response. I didn't see any of that extra stuff on the original, so I just pulled it out, so we're pretty much in the same state. Yeah, so it's not saving anything, and I'm not seeing any traffic. So the problem is definitely where we piped. So I think what I need to do is somehow figure out if there is an error. Let's look at this catch error a little bit deeper. So let's go to RxJS, and I'm going to type in catch error. So catches errors on the observable to be handled by returning a new observable or throwing an error. A function that takes an as argument error, which is the error, and caught, which is the source observable. In case you'd like to retry that, so this dot handle error, and alright, so we can say, let's see if we do this, dot pipe map. I don't need to map anything if nothing's wrong. So I'm actually going to do the same thing on get categories and see what happens. Probably have some issues with that, but oh well. So let's go with dot pipe, and we'll say catch errors, right? And we'll do this dot handle error. First need to pull this semicolon off, everything else works. So now I get to check to see if it's the way I'm doing this, because oh nope, we're still getting this. So that's not causing any problems, and down in the network, yep, still showing. There it is. Oh, I just realized that I never turned off that functionality of getting there. Well, that's not important right now. That's actually helping me. So now I want to see if I just take this pipe off, if we now get our response here. And I want to go over back into the TS here and check on one thing. Okay, cool. So we're getting that, and I'm just gonna save. So what might be happening is that when we don't subscribe to that thing going out, that it's not sending for some reason, or it's not waiting. It's not waiting for the traffic. And the best way to find that out is to go and try it. Because when we do this, was it update category? Populate options. Yeah, we're subscribing to it. So let's go ahead and subscribe and just see what happens. Dot subscribe. And I'm not even gonna do anything with it. I'm just gonna put that there, just to see if that like wakes it up and it's now monitoring the traffic on there, because it's not like a there and back kind of thing. Yep, there it is. So it's like, hey, you sent out this request, but you never did anything with it. So now we can go here, we can go response, and usually we can just console log the response. It's already being done, so I don't want to do that and be redundant, but I'm going to do it because I'm not seeing it. Manual response there, and this will be comma response. So I'm just gonna print that out straight and figure out what's going on here. So not subscribing is what pulled up some errors, and we're still getting that, but this HTTP response error, is that actually what's supposed to be sent out? Maybe that was the problem, that this was the return type and I misinterpreted. Nope. There's still no console, no logging of the console. There's no logging of the console. So what is going on? So, and I want to look into this error response thing because there might be some more information in there that I can get from it. Nope. It's, oh, it does have a message. But I think it already dropped down into this thing here. By the time we get to it, it's just the error that we can get. And oh, this error is very large. In here, it's got a message right there. So I wonder, so I wonder if I pull this stuff out. Let's just see what happens. So none of those console logs worked. So let's say catch error not logging. Everything works fine for 200 response before one error is completely ignored. Headers. I have the same issue with catch error function being completely ignored. Since this simple and straightforward code use too much information on there. Not working when piped from English service. The service, authentication, email, observable authentication, form data, new form data, email, pen, password. Return this not easy point. Form data as observable. Oh, that's why. Turns out I forgot I had an HTTP interceptor that caught HTTP errors like so. If I wanted to bubble up, I do have an HTTP interceptor. So I would have to turn that off in order for this to work. The beauty. So I have an HTTP interceptor that might be intercepting what's going on. But I thought what did I call that thing? Utils. So it's based off of this HTTP interceptor. Yep. Handle request. Let me do a console.log. I just want to know if it actually went out. So this is probably something that I might have to move to a different location. Because now that I have the HTTP thing in there, so with the interceptor on, does this help? You just saved me. After an hour trying to find why the error wasn't being caught in a nested flat map, that was the reason. Return observable dot throw error doesn't work for me. I had to do return throw error. Turns out I forgot I had the HTTP interceptor that I caught HTTP errors like so. Return next dot handle. Here it is here. So let's put that stuff over here. And instead it's console log, I know what to do. So that was it. We had something intercepting our response. So that's why. Still doesn't explain why. Well, I know why. We didn't put the. That's what we did. Alright, don't get me lying. So I guess in this particular case, since there were no errors, it didn't have to worry about this particular setup. And actually, I'm gonna pull this stuff out because this is unnecessary. We're not doing anything with the information here, so we don't need to pipe it. It seems like I did that in a few places. Wow, that's interesting. Live and learn, right? So drop that there, drop that there, and now we're gonna move this whole thing somewhere else. Control X, boom, and then we can get rid of this. No pipe for you. And drop that. and no red flags, so we're good to go so far. And the kind of, well, it's gonna be a pain in a second because once I go to client side, I'm not gonna want to have these pop-ups. So I might have to work around this. But the only thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a dot pipe, and I'm gonna do catch. I'm gonna pretty much catch error here, catch error, and then it'll be this dot handle error, and it doesn't exist right now. So do I need to get out of this? Yeah, I do need to get out of this. So now we got private. We're gonna add all missing imports. Cool. So this is happy. Now we got something up here that's not happy, and I think it's just these semicolons. Yeah. There we are. So let's try this. Now everything's reloading. Save, and there we go. We're getting our errors. And I don't even think I need to subscribe in the front end when I did. So that's good to know. If you have a HTTP interceptor, then you need to move where you're catching your errors. You need to put that error handler in that HTTP interceptor. Otherwise, you're going to have some problems. So now let's go and just save again. So you do have to subscribe on it on the other side. They didn't show us that though on the function call. They just showed you on the service. So I'm assuming what's gonna happen is we're gonna have to subscribe on our side, and the only thing we need to do is say, all right, if there's an error, then we're gonna pop up that modal. That dialog box. So we can check that here by saying, okay, what observable never. So we need to figure out how to get this type out of this thing. We need to figure out how to get that. So let's do this as well. We're gonna say here it was wait, let's do this one more time. Shit, we can't see it. Let's go back to our component. So we do have to subscribe in order to get that update. And in order to get the update, we're just gonna do console. Not in order to get it, but we're gonna do two things, two birds with one stone. Console.log, and we want to say response. We say response type. Right, figure out what kind of data we're working with so we can work it. And then we're gonna say type of, or instance of, really, instance of, and we say response. Maybe it is type of. We want to figure out what kind of data we got here. Alright, so hopefully that'll help us out. I'm just hoping, I can't remember if type of works for objects, but I don't know. I subscribed to this thing, but that didn't print out. Said console.log. So, oh, that's cool. Backend return code for 100 body was object. So now I do want to fix that. Error, something bad happened. Please try again. Post. So all that stuff works so far. In terms of getting us what we need. With this, we're going to have to probably do some more error handling over here, because now we're getting our stuff to send us a response. However, by the time it gets over to our component here, we don't see this console log anywhere. So I'm not sure if it's if this is having an issue picking it up, but that is something that I will have to check into on that as well. Not because I didn't see anything. I didn't even see the first part of this. I guess one thing I can try to do is just remove that and just try to print something to see that at least this part is working. But it seems like this was a little deeper than I anticipated. So right now, as you see, we're still only seeing those three things showing up here. We're not seeing anything else. So yeah, not really too sure on that one. So that'll be something to look into a little later. Um, turns out that's fine. If I wanted to bubble the error up to the effect, observable dot throw error. So let's try this. Let's do observe return of error. Well, observable dot throw error, right? We want to bubble this up. So let's go over here and we'll do not here. Here. It'll be this. Is this what we want to do? Observable dot throw error. Observable dot throw. This might be depreciated. Oh, nope. Yeah. In favor of throw error, create function. So, okay. It doesn't work for me. So we're throwing the error now. We're just getting some more issues really. In this particular case, I don't know. We're getting the console dot error, but I'm not seeing anything else. So this will be something I'll have to tackle tomorrow. I'll have to read a little bit more into it and go from there. I'll do a little bit of reading here, but you know, this is pretty much where we are as of right now. So we're able to grab everything that we need in terms of getting the error, producing the error, and now we have a way to handle it. Now we need a way to, when we're handling the error, our front end code is able to pick up on that and do what we need to do. So that's where we are right now. Catch. So let's go. And I'll take a few more minutes just to do this, but this is definitely gonna be a tomorrow thing. Catch error. Not. No. Subscribe. Why handle errors with catch error and not in the subscribe callback in Angular? Okay. Catch error, handle errors. And this is what we got here. It's all about separation of certain Angular. One major benefit of using catch error is to separate the whole data retrieval logic, including all errors that can occur along the way, from the presentation of the data. Light components only care about the presentation of the data. Okay. Don't light components care about data retrieval specifics like errors. Moving sounds. So I don't even know what this does here. Make future development easier, keeping observables alive, chaining multiple observers. That pipe catch error, blah 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 blah. And again, how to show it, right? Oh, I get it. So the reason why that didn't work is because once we catch an error, it's all handled by our it's all handled by the HTTP interceptor. So let's do Angular HTTP interceptor error handling. So yeah, this is where we're gonna pick up, and I'll work from here tomorrow. Um, didn't get where I wanted to get, but I mean, learning a whole lot more in the process. So as long as you're learning, it's good. Especially right now for me, this is a lot more than I anticipated going in. So just seeing the full process and doing a lot of things manually is helping me out, to kind of see the bigger picture and understand, to a much deeper level, how everything is connected and how this stuff really works behind the scenes. So hopefully, you guys are taking away the same thing that I'm taking away, in this process. And if you are, go ahead and drop some comments below. Maybe there's some things that you guys missed that maybe I was aware of and kind of omitted. So don't be afraid to drop me a line, and follow me on social media. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel because I'll be doing more videos. And once this series is done, I'll be doing more tutorial based. So, less guesswork, more specifics of this is, A, this is B, this is whatever, this is how you do it specifically, more concrete, as opposed to kind of a day in the life kind of thing, which is what you're seeing here. So, again, thanks